Okay, so today I have with me Michelle Rockwell, Dylan Gillick, and Anandi Stork. I will be going over the grant information that's going to be pertinent to you guys to conduct your federal fiscal year 20 grant for BFET and get it submitted without any hiccups. So I hope everybody can hear me. Let's move through. No.
Arrow didn't work? There we go.
So as you can see, we've developed a timeline for you guys so you have an understanding of when our grant application is due, so August 29th. We are looking at mid to September for review and feedback in OGMS. September 24th, the college revisions will be due. Late September, we will be doing approval status notification, and our grant is scheduled to begin October 1st.
I'm going to do a little overview for OGMS, refresher or for folks who are new. Some frequently asked questions about the Online Grant Management System, or OGMS. It's located at ogms.sbctc.edu. Oh, sorry, I've got a holdover from a different webinar. We're not talking about Work First, we're talking about BFET. I'm sorry. So you'll apply for the grant in OGMS. If you don't have an account, you'll need to contact your college's OGMS security contact. They will create you an account. SBCTC staff cannot create OGMS accounts for college faculty and staff. You can find the list of security contacts in OGMS on the Security Contacts tab in OGMS. If you already have an OGMS account, you still need to contact your OGMS security contact for access to this federal fiscal year 2019-20 BFET grant. Access from the previous year does not carry over to this year's application. Should you have questions about how to apply for the grant in OGMS or have other OGMS-related questions, please see the user manual under the How To tab in OGMS first. Links are available on the slide, which we will make available after the webinar. Most frequently answered questions will be answered in the user manual, and if your question is not addressed in the manual, start by contacting your organization's OGMS security contact. If they can't help, you can contact me. I'm at dgillick@sbctc.edu. Just further getting back into OGMS, if you've forgotten your OGMS username and password, you can contact your security contact for the username. They probably won't have your password. You can use the Retrieve My Password feature on the login screen to have OGMS email your password to you. It should email your password to you about 30 seconds after you request it. If you don't receive that email in about 2 minutes, just go ahead and check your spam or junk email folder. If it's not there, check with your security contact to make sure the email address associated with your OGMS user account is correct. As schools update email addresses, OGMS security contacts don't always remember to update user accounts at their college. Once you have access to the FY20 application, you can create a new grant application in the Available Grants section of OGMS. After you log in, you'll see a list of grant applications you have access to near the top of your screen. A little farther down, you'll see available grants that you can create an application for. Locate the BFET grant, it may be the only one you can see, and click the Create New Application button. Only go through this process once. After you create your application, the grant application will be in the FY20 screen of OGMS. And if you don't see the application anywhere, go ahead and contact your college's OGMS security contact. Just make sure you save frequently to ensure you don't lose your work. OGMS will time out after 20 minutes of inactivity. And you will get a little pop-up about 15 minutes in that lets you know you do need to save or you'll be logged out and lose all of your work. One more thing I wanted to highlight is you can find and download grant and fiscal guidelines as well as other important documents in the grant info link. You'll see a link off to the right side of your screen in your application. This is the grant info section of the application. Just visit that link, read through the documents to get the scoop on what's allowed and who to contact, timeline, deadlines, etc. So the last thing to highlight is just that when you're submitting your grant, should you have any issues once you finish up your application, go ahead and first contact your OGMS security contact, and then if they're having any issues with that, you can contact us or they can contact us. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Dylan. Okay, so this is going to go over into a few slides, and we're going to highlight some of the pieces that we need you to be aware of. For those of you that have looked in your grant already, awesome. We're really excited about that. If you have questions, we'll have time at the end of these few slides for a Q&A. Please feel free to type questions into the chat box as well. We are monitoring that. So numbers are in alignment with your BFET budget workbook. Numbers are within $1 or so of your workbook amount due to a rounding issue in the DSHS workbook. You will need to use the numbers provided to you in the spreadsheet sent out with the grant release emails. Those are your numbers. Removal of excess questions and unnecessary information. This was really exciting. We worked together to best capture the intent of your program and the services you provide. We were able to remove questions that were duplicative in nature and gave us no pertinent information, allowing us to streamline the grant application tremendously and rely on your BFET budget workbook. Participant reimbursement categories. For those of you that have been inside your grant application, you'll notice that there has been some changes. We have books, clothing, childcare, housing, personal hygiene, testing, and transportation. For books, there is no cap amount. This category is to include books, supplies, and tools. Clothing, there is a $600 per program year cap amount. This includes uniforms, work clothing, etc. Childcare, there is no cap amount. This is to include childcare expenses and any medical and dental expenses. This is a workaround until federal fiscal year 20, when DSHS can add in another PR line for those expenses. Housing, there is a $6,000 per program year cap. This is to include all housing and utilities. You no longer have to follow a suggested limit of 2 months. Personal hygiene, there is a $600 per program year cap. This is to include soaps, body wash, deodorant, haircuts, etc. Testing, there is no cap. This is to include all educational credential testing, reasonable accommodations, driver's licensing, CDLs, background checks, fingerprinting, etc. Transportation, $1,400 per program year cap, and this is to include gas cards, bus passes, automobile/bike repairs. Alternate form submissions. Your alternate forms, if you are using any for federal fiscal year 20, must be uploaded with your grant. If you are not using alternate forms, then please mark the non-applicable toggle switch on question 4B under the miscellaneous section. Approval must be given for the following alternate items: DSHS consent form, BFET referral, IEP, which is the individual employment plan, and the participant reimbursement form. Your BFET narrative requires you to tell us up front where the 100% of funds are coming so you can receive 50% reimbursement. The budget amounts are reflective of the max amount you can bill for, that 50% amount. Your narrative, again, needs to show us where the total amount of funds is coming from and how you are leveraging. Here's what we expect. For salaries, benefits, or wages and benefits, include a breakdown of all positions and titles, FTE, and wage amounts. Please note that in order to bill for salaries and benefits, the position must be providing unique service to BFET students. You cannot bill for expenses if the position does not provide services that are unique. This information should match what you have in your BFET budget workbook on the detail worksheet tab. So where you see staff titles, FTE, and amounts, you're going to be moving that information directly from there into your grant narrative.
And Jen, for all of you on WebEx, this is Michelle. I just want to interject. The one slight difference is your budget workbook. I think you just include titles and FTE amounts. Here, we're also asking you to include a brief description of their duties so that we can tell that they are unique to services. They're providing services unique to BFET. You don't need to paste a copy of their job description. It's really a brief something. The fiscal guidelines have examples of positions with descriptions of duties. They could potentially be as brief as the examples in the fiscal guidelines.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. Tuition. Please include the number of students, cost per student, and the sources you will be leveraging. This information you should have already available to you. It is not in the workbook on a specific tab. You do have your amounts. However, there is no anticipated amounts of students served in that part of the detail worksheet. You will find anticipated number of students you say that you are going to serve on your performance tab of the worksheet. Participant reimbursements for each category you offer include number of students, cost per student, and the sources you will leverage. This information should match what is in your BFET budget workbook on the PR tab. Wow, I bet you guys didn't expect that to be so quick. This is really exciting because of the fact that we worked so hard to streamline the grant. There really isn't much that you have to do in the way of creating all this verbiage to go in your narrative. We really expect that it matches your workbook. So at this point,
or the numbers we gave you.
Yes.
The numbers we gave you, some of you will have a dollar difference here and there because of the darn rounding thing in the workbook.
I never get a clean workbook from DSHS. But so at this point, we want to be able to open this up for a bit of Q&A for you guys, so you can have, if you have questions about some of the things you've seen in the grant because you've been in the grant already in OGMS, or if you have questions or comments about the information that you've seen today, I'll go ahead and unmute you guys. We are monitoring the chat box as well. Oh.
Hello, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Hi.
Hey, over.
Is that you, Kate?
Hi. Are they going to update the PR forms and EJAS to all these changes for the participant reimbursements?
It is my understanding that DSHS is updating the PR form to be reflective of the categories.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. One thing I want to touch back on and highlight real quick, like around the alternate forms being submitted with your grant application, is your approval to use those forms for the federal fiscal year will be given at the time that we approve your grant in OGMS. So if your forms don't need any adjustments and they meet the criteria, then you will just receive official approval with your grant being approved. If there has to be adjustments, I will email you directly and highlight those and work with you to help get a document that's ready for approval. If you change your alternate forms at any time throughout the grant year, you will need to make sure that you submit them to my email, jdellinger@sbctc.edu, for approval prior to use. Okay, it looks like we do have a question in the comment box. Okay. It says, for participant reimbursements, we are leveraging local BFET realized funds. Do you anticipate any problems with that being the funding source? We do not. You are allowed to utilize those for participant reimbursements. You just need to highlight the sources that you are leveraging. I would anticipate seeing other sources as well, such as worker retraining, OG, et cetera. I think we may have a question if you are not leveraging other sources and the only thing you're leveraging is BFET reutilized funds, we may want to reach out and just get an idea of why that is, but I don't see it being an issue if you're leveraging that. If we did not put an amount in childcare, but we will be offering dental and medical, do we still put it in? That's a great question, you guys. I think we've had this come up a little bit where a college has realized that they did not include amounts for a specific participant reimbursement category that they would like to offer. And at this time, you must stick with what your numbers are from the worksheet that was sent out to you in the grant release email. We will have an initial funding survey that will release shortly after our contract begins, which will allow for redistribution and moving of funds throughout. Please know that if funds are not returned to the system up front where they cannot be utilized, we will not have funds to redistribute out to those that may need them in specific categories.
That said, for the past however many years, you've been allowed to freely move money between other cells on your participant reimbursement line outside of a funding survey. So if you're moving money out of books into childcare for those expenses, that's typically okay. We would request that you wait and do a budget revision after your grant is awarded, though, rather than now, just so that we can make sure that because we don't yet have our contract from DSHS, to make sure that we do still have the flexibility to do that. So there's probably no problem with you moving funds around. Just wait until after your grant is awarded so that we have our contract and just know for certain that that's okay.
Yeah, and then as we move throughout the year, like Michelle said, you are able to move funds from one PR category to the next freely through a normal budget revision process. And just know that as we look at that for budget revision approvals, you'll need to make sure that in your narrative you're telling us the amount of students you anticipate serving, the cost per, and sources of leverage. Are there any more questions? We'll look at that. So with all this, we do anticipate colleges having questions as they go in and look at their grant and complete their grant. You have the ability for program questions to make sure that you're reaching out to any of us if you need to. I am your direct contact, but if you need to reach out to Susan or Michelle, you can do so. We support each other and are able to answer all questions. For more of the fiscal questions, Susan Woniger and Michelle are there to help as well. But please, if you can, make sure you CC me on them because we need to make sure that we're all on the same page. And there are often a program piece of the puzzle that's included even if it's a fiscal question. So we just want to make sure we are addressing all of your questions and needs in a holistic way. All right, guys, you have your afternoon back. And we look forward to seeing you guys here shortly at the BFET Training Forum. Thank you for your time today.